Hello, everybody. This is Irina Strunina and Kim Kyle. We are starting our next 10th, believe it or not, 10th session on Diabetes 101 Caregivers Crash Course. We are talking here about everything that your loved ones are getting educated, hopefully, during their doctor's visits. And if you didn't have a chance to go to these doctor's visits and you have questions, we are trying to give you as much information as possible, and we are open to answer your questions. So if you need to have the answer to specific topic, please don't hesitate and reach out to me, to Kim, and we will do our best to help you to find the answer, or we'll may just plain give you the answer here. That's our goal here. The reason why I started this and invited Kim, and she gracefully agreed to be with me on it, actually enthusiastically agreed to be with me on it, is because I was in your shoes. When my husband got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I had very little information about it. I had two babies on hands. We had business that was in crisis because of the economy was in crisis. And there were a lot of things to worry about. And this diabetes diagnosis was the last thing that I was concerned before he got to the hospital. And when he got this diagnosis, I didn't know what to do at all. I knew how much he valued a quality food. I knew that he was chef in his spirit. He was a technology guy, but he loved to cook and experiment in the kitchen, and he had this approach. Healthy food is not a tasty food. So imagine that. I was scared sitting with those two babies while he's in the hospital, and I didn't know what can I do, what should I do, where to go. He would be going to the doctors. I will be staying at home taking care of nursing babies. It was not like little toddlers running around, nursing. So I thought that even though it was 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, there are still ladies, caregivers like myself, who caught off guard with this diagnosis. They know their spouses, their loved ones, that they have some habits that are not the best supporting their health. They have some pride, and they have knowledge of their area of expertise. So they kind of not extremely trusting to many people, especially to those who, like myself, were not educated in medicine. So in the last 20 years, and especially in the last 5 years, I learned so much. And I finally realized that I can help those people who are like me, searching for information like the fish for water. Let's do it together. And I called Kim, and Kim said yes. Kim has her own experience with helping her father with diabetes, with managing his diagnosis, and also not the easiest task she had in her hands. So we decided that this year, 2025, this will be our passion project. We will have every month a presentation. Kim will have a presentation. I will have a talk before and after. When we will dive deep into specific topics that are important, and there is so much contradicting information on the internet, so we could give you some basic information that you could stand on, use in your work helping your loved one. A lot of people live by themselves and they are the caregivers for themselves. This is information that we can give you and you can apply it to yourself. You can look at it from both ends, as a caregiver and as a person who has this diagnosis in person. So today's topic will be very important because I see this conversation in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, again and again and again and again. I thank our admins who sort out these conversations and they post information that we all collected. But I always personally prefer to speak with a live person when they can answer my questions and when they can show some details that hard to describe in words. So Kim is here today to give more details about CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, and their use and why and how to use it and and I have some questions for Kim, so she doesn't even know about it. So let's move on. Kim, the mic is yours. Please introduce yourself for those who didn't see our previous sessions. By the way, everything is available on YouTube, and at the end I will show you how to get to there. And let's move on.
Thank you, Arena, and thank you again for trusting me to go along on this journey with you. This has really been a great experience. Without you, I wouldn't have an online presence, and helping people like Diane is in our gallery today. So I do appreciate it. Yes, I was a caregiver for my dad. It was the whole reason I became a dietitian. I was never going to go back to school after high school. I hated it. I was going to go to Tahiti or Hawaii or somewhere and just live my life at the beach and just work in a hotel. I loved hotel management. I loved all of that. But when he almost died, when he was overseas on a trip and he came home, and literally the next 24 hours he was in getting open heart surgery, I knew that maybe I'm not meant to be at the beach. Maybe I'm meant to be a dietitian, because through his recovery process and his diagnosis with type 2 during that time was really interesting to me. So I went back to school, was very successful, became a dietitian, and sought a job that I could do that was just 100% diabetes. And I have been at the same diabetes center now for 19 and a half years. So thousands and thousands of patients I have seen from all types of diabetes, all walks of life. And I was a dietitian in the diabetes center before CGMs were anything. It was just a thought like, wow, wouldn't this be cool? And once we got the first CGM, oh my goodness, it changed everything. My patients who were usually super high blood sugars suddenly could see what meals, what activity affected their blood sugars, and they were able to use that information to better their blood sugars. It was life-saving for many of my patients. They never wanted to prick their finger. They hated that. They're not going to do it. Don't even try to even talk me into it. But they will wear something on their arm that is connected to an app to give them that information that they need. And I'm telling you, it was life-saving for many, many of my patients. My dad wasn't around during that time, and he probably wouldn't have worn one anyway. He was a very grumpy old man, which is my favorite patient. Bring me the grumpy old men. I will, absolutely love caring for them. And as a caregiver, it was really tough sometimes. But you have to get in that almost the position of that person and not point your finger and do all of these things and you're bad and you shouldn't do this. You're there to support. It's a really, really hard job. But if you're just there to catch them doing something right, you will have a friend and a good patient for life. Catch them doing something right, not the bad stuff. Now, why do we need to even care about what our blood sugars are? Well, because a high blood sugar can be damaging to all of our organs. I always use the example that blood sugar is sandpaper to your arteries. What happens when we use sandpaper? Well, we make things more thin, right? Less thick. We can sand it down. So when you have a high blood sugar in your body and it goes from your head down to your toes, affecting every organ, especially our heart, our kidneys, which are in our back, our little arteries and veins in our eyes. When we get clogged with sugar, we are damaging those arteries every single day. And it's the continued high blood sugar, not the ones that go up and down. That's allowed, that's normal. But if it stays at that 180 or higher level, that's what's going to cause the damage. And we have to avoid that. And knowing what your blood sugars are 24/7 is great information, but it can also be very overwhelming. And if you have histories of disordered eating and just really having a negative relationship with food, I would want you to be connected with a professional to help you work through some of the numbers and information so you're not so overwhelmed. But we have to control our blood sugars for our lifespan. My main goal, this is entirely why I'm a dietitian. Let's help you prevent diabetes-related complications, which are primarily kidney disease, kidney failure. That's very, very serious. Heart failure, blindness, neuropathy. Can I help you control your blood sugars to prevent those complications? That's my main point. You don't need to be perfect. There's a lot of people out there that think that you have to be perfect, but you don't. We just need to be in a range that promotes healthy blood sugars most of the time. And with this information, with these continuous glucose monitors, you'll have some excellent information. I've worn them, and I've always been fascinated how certain meals raise or don't raise the blood sugar, how exercise lowers. It's fascinating. So if you come in with that attitude, like this is just really neat information, don't beat up on yourself if something goes a little higher than you think. Just say, that's really great information. Let me make a note about that. That's how I want you to tackle this.
Absolutely. And this is something that really, this is what we are always talking about, that when you got some news about your health, learn about the diagnosis and learn about your body, how it affects your body, what your body can do about it, right? High cholesterol, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, whatever it is, you got to have a system that helps you to have this tracking. You need to know your numbers, and CGM are such a great tool for that.
And they've gotten better, much, much better over the years. So I'm going to start now with the presentation, and let's go. Let's talk about everything that I already knew, but I learned a few new things doing this presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. All right. Well, there are some continuous glucose monitors that may not be for you. So you have to maybe make that decision along with your primary care doctor or your endocrinologist, which CGM or continuous glucose monitor. That's kind of a mouthful. So we say CGM. That's just easy. Yes, we're going to talk about some myths and some must-know facts, especially if you have type 2 diabetes or you're caring for somebody with type 2 diabetes. And we're going to talk about insurance coverage, of course, and there are some cheat sheets that are really great that you can get online, but I'm going to try to put together one very simple and easy to read, because that's the kind of a dietitian I am. The easier it is to understand, the better I think I do in teaching it and people do in understanding it and absorbing that information. Sorry, hold on. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right, so CGMs help you to see blood sugar patterns instantly. They help you prevent rising blood sugars and dropping blood sugars. That's the key right there. Can we help you prevent a low blood sugar? In my opinion, a low blood sugar is more dangerous than a high blood sugar, because as your blood sugar is dropping, the sugar leaves your brain. And if your brain is not properly fueled, you can become confused, not able to make proper decisions, like getting in a car when you have a low blood sugar. That could be deadly, not only for you, but for other people on the road. It happens almost every day, I guarantee you. It's probably worse than texting and driving. Driving with a low blood sugar, woo, don't do that. But it can also show you the power in your meal choices. Yes, we have to have a strategy around this. I talk about that when I talk the presentation I did on the plate method. High protein, high healthy fat, lower carbs, mixed in with some exercise. You can have amazing blood sugars and eat a variety of foods. But it does give you some feedback. It's not perfect. And I'll explain that here in just a second. So yes, we're going to wear this device on our skin. Our typical placement is in the upper arm in a fatty area. Look at all these different manufacturers of these CGMs, but some of them are made by the same company, like Dexcom, G7. Dexcom also makes Stelo. Freestyle Libre 3. Freestyle Libre, which is a very popular one, also makes Lingo. Eversense is something very different. It's an embedded sensor. And I didn't put anything on the Medtronic Simplera because that's for somebody who's a pump user, insulin pump user. But this can be an affordable way to really get to know how are your blood sugars. So CGM, continuous glucose monitor. It's a sensor that is inserted via an applicator. It does not hurt. I have used the Dexcom, the Freestyle, and the Stelo, and I've used them all. It's a little cannula is what we call it that will sit right under your skin. It doesn't, if it hurts, there's something wrong. You did it wrong. Some of these sensors can measure your blood sugar every minute and some is every 3 minutes. But you're going to have an app on your phone or you're going to purchase a separate reader. I know the Freestyle or the Dexcom have separate readers. If you're not a real good technology person with an iPhone or an Android phone, then you can just get a reader that will show you instantly what are your blood sugars running at. So the main thing is for my patients who don't want to prick their finger or they forget all the time, this replaces that. And in the most popular sensors, there is a way where your physician, your endocrinologist, or even your dietitian can give you a code so they can go into their website and look exactly what are your blood sugars. Like you can't hide from this. And sometimes that's what patients don't like. They don't want people looking at their blood sugars. We're not going to certainly be admonishing to you. We just want to know how are your blood sugars? What did you eat? Why was it high? And we can help you better. Some people want that information and some people don't. But I find it just fascinating, and that's how you should come across this. You're going to see trends. There's reports that you can gather that will show you the time of the day where your blood sugar is the highest, the time of the day where your blood sugar is the lowest. We can see what's happening at night when you're not checking your blood sugars with a finger stick. I mean, this is just great information because blood sugars rise at night. Even when you're sleeping, your blood sugars can go up. So somebody who's taking insulin or medicine for diabetes, there could be a medication change that might be needed for that time. Or maybe your blood sugar is going low. Maybe we need to back off some of the medication. So there's so much more we can get from the CGM versus just a finger stick every once in a while. But the biggest thing is you will hear beeps and beeps and beeps when your blood sugar is dropping. It will alert you, and don't silence those if you're on insulin or any blood sugar or medication. You need that notice because if you get in a car with a low blood sugar, all bets are off of your safety and anybody else's safety on the road with you. Now, here is the biggest drawback. The sensors are not checking your blood. Your blood, you have to go into the blood vessel and prick that to get the blood draw to get the most accurate reading. The sensor sits in the fluid around the blood cell. So it's sensing what the blood sugars might be about 20 minutes ago. So there is we call that a lag time. So when you get a reading on your sensor, it is not for that moment. It's for 20 to 30 minutes ago. What was your blood sugar 20, 30 minutes ago? So it might have been just now alerting you that your blood sugar is dropping, but your blood sugar could already be very, very low. So consider that as just one of the disadvantages of using this, but it's still going to alert you, and it's still something that you would need to prick your finger to check the accuracy of what the device alarm is sending you. And it can alarm you when it's also rising, and that could be, hey, let me get up out of this chair, walk around, do some movement. to prevent to blunt that spot. That's so fascinating. And I'm going to show you at the end how that really works in real time. But the interstitial fluid, it can be confusing because it's not going to be accurate. So I'll have patients all the time. My population now is pregnant with diabetes, and they'll prick their finger and it will say one thing and the device says another thing. They're like, which one is right? It's like, well, they're both right. One is just in the past, which is the sensor, and the accurate one is the blood check with the fingerprint. So here's, I like this kind of a little visual of here's the sensor on your skin, on your arm. It needs to go in the fatty part of your arm or the fatty part of your stomach. You can wear it there, but I don't think that when I wore it on my stomach, I don't think it was as accurate as wearing it on my arm. So the fatty part of the arm, it does not go into muscle. It goes into body fat or under the skin, but not into muscle. And it just measures. So here's your blood vessel. Your blood cell is round. It's a little cell that is not continuous, but it can sense what the blood sugars are based on the fluid amount, sensing the sugar on the blood cells from the. Oh, on that last slide, let me just go back. I didn't really know this so much until I read into it. But there are some times when the sensor is not going to be as accurate, which is at the beginning of a sensor session or at the end of a sensor session. You may not get 100% accuracy during those beginning and ending times of the sensor. And also there are some medications that can interfere with the reading. One of them is Tylenol. Tylenol can interfere with the sensor reading the blood sugar, the interstitial fluid accurately. Also, if you're on high doses of vitamin C or taking vitamin C constantly, right now during this time when cold season is coming on, flu season is coming on, you may notice that my blood sugars aren't as accurate as they used to be, and it could be from that too. I don't know how much vitamin C. I have to look back into that, but there could be some disadvantages if you're taking Tylenol every day for some condition or taking vitamin C probably in a larger amount. All right, here are some of the myths, and I thought this was really interesting. CGMs replace meters 100%. No, they do not. If you have a low blood sugar, I always want you to confirm it with a blood sugar meter. You'll prick your finger, draw your blood, test your actual blood to confirm if you need to do a treatment or not. Now, if you're having symptoms like you're shaky and sweaty and your heart is beating out of your chest, you're probably having a low blood sugar, and I would want you to do a treatment. But for this situation, I'll have patients all the time that start in the 500, 600 blood sugars, and their blood sugars drop because they suddenly get on medication. They might go from 500 down to 200. Well, they could have symptoms of a low blood sugar because their blood sugar is dropping, but it's not low. You would never do a treatment for a 200 blood sugar. It's going to just zip you right back up there to those 500s, and the body has to acclimate down to a new normal, but you can feel those low symptoms when the blood sugar drops from a high to even another high. From 500 to 200 is still high. Yeah.
From your experience, Kim, how long does it take for body to adjust to lower blood sugar readings? Because is it 3 days or 2 weeks or a month?
Weeks. It takes a long time. I know my patients who are super high A1Cs in the 11s, they're like, this is so uncomfortable for me. I can't stand it. I have to bring my blood sugars back up just so I can go to work and and go about my day. It is a bit of a suffering time. I would say a good 2 to 4 weeks to really get down to that new normal.
Okay.
Nobody's comfortable when they're going from high down to normal.
Mm-hmm.
It takes some time, and we do have grace for that. Yeah, we don't need your blood sugars to be perfect right away.
Yes.
But that's a really tough part about getting into a normal blood sugar. The other myth is, all CGMs are basically the same. No, they vary. I'm going to go over all those features. You don't need one unless you're on insulin. Well, it certainly does help if you are on insulin, but I can use it. I've had pre-diabetes, in and out of pre-diabetes with menopause time of my life. Been very interesting. Gestational diabetes is a very interesting time if you have diabetes in pregnancy. You don't have to be on insulin to get the benefit of these CGMs. The CGM results are most accurate. We just talked about the interstitial fluid versus the blood cell, the accuracy of that. The low and high alarms are not necessary. If you're using one of the sensors that has an alarm, but you're not on insulin, you can silence those alarms. You do not need those alarms. And oftentimes we have something called a compression low. And that usually happens at night most times when you're laying on the sensor, the arm of the sensor, the fluid dissipates, right? You know, when you're upright, the fluid is full. But when you lay down or put pressure on it, the fluid dissipates. And so that sensor is thinking, oh, it's a low blood sugar. It's not. We call that a compression low. But you might be woken up by those beeps and alerts. So whatever side that you sleep on, maybe put the sensor on the opposite side. Insurance will not cover it. It's getting better, way better. Medicare and Medicaid are now covering the CGM if you are needing insulin. If you are not needing insulin, they usually do not cover it. Most commercial health insurance plans see the value in preventing low blood sugars. Hello, thank goodness. You know, prevention is not, you know, costly, so they don't really cover that. But they are now seeing the benefit in preventing complications from diabetes by using CGM. So the commercial health insurance plans are getting much, much better at covering these devices. CGM is expensive for cash payers, not anymore. And here's a link for you. The diabetes technology affordability tool for resources. I mean, you can just search, you know, discounts for CGMs on Google and come up with a lot of information. But I'm going to share some with you very, very soon. Dexcom is one of the more popular sensors. It's the one that you can sync with other insulin pumps. And so this is a device that a lot of our type 1 patients like to use, but also for type 2, very easy to use. The reports in the graph are great. And this has just gotten better over time. There are 2 apps though. Go ahead.
Question. I did see in a group, people were discussing that if you have iPhone, you could use that. If you have the Android, then this will not work for you. Does Dexcom working with both Androids and iPhone?
Yes.
Okay.
This one does work with both. It didn't used to, but it does now. Yeah.
Thank you.
But there are 2 apps that you need for this. You have the G7 app, which shows you that running scroll of what your blood sugars are. And then you have another app called the Clarity app. That's where you will put in the clinic code so you can share your information with your doctor or your dietitian or your primary care doctor. But it also gives you all the reports that are really neat to look at. I love reports. It could be overwhelming for someone that doesn't know what they're looking at to see all those squiggly lines, but it's fascinating. Really, really great reporting. But it's a good one. Now, this one does have a reader. For those who don't want to sync it to their phone, you have a reader that you can just look at any time to see what your blood sugars are. And you can go back 24 hours, but it doesn't give you the reports. The reporting is on your phone from syncing that Clarity app. So some people miss that. That Clarity app is really important. We're going to watch a little video on how to insert the CGM. And I'm just going to speed it up a little bit for time's sake. Whoops. The back of the upper arm or the abdomen, where the fattier part is, kind of where you can pinch an inch. You can, even children can use this, and I see a lot of the little ones, the really tiny kids, so the babies and the 1-year-olds, the mom or dad will put it on their rear end. But if you're going to put it on your stomach area, don't put it near your waistband where your pants go, because you take off your pants, you're going to take off the sensor, it's going to come off. So I always like to do it in the back of my arm, like this lady here, and they've gotten better now. The G7 is the new design where you just have one and done. You just have the applicator. That clear outer part has to be pushed in. Then you push your button and it goes right in. And I wiggle it off a little, not as fast as she did it. You just try to get your finger around that adhesive as quick as you can. Push it in for 10 seconds. You're not pushing any buttons. You're just pushing the adhesive onto the skin. And then on each package, it does come with an overlay. Use it. You want to use the overlay because that initial adhesive can kind of roll up if you're showering or something. You can shower with this just fine. but you want to put that extra adhesive on it just to make sure those little ends don't roll up. And that's all you do. You can do it all by yourself, and then you take out that outer part, and that will stay on your arm. This is for 10 days. That will stay on your arm very nicely. You have to start the app and everything, but that's really how most of them are going to work. I do love the reports that we get on this. We can look at time and range, which is really important, especially my patients who are like, oh, I have high blood sugars after this meal. Let's look at time and range. Are you in range about 80% of the time? That's where we need you to be. So this graph on the left, where they're only 46% in range and 11% is very high, we want to get that down as quick as possible. Find out what meals are helping them stay in range, and maybe we can do more of that. Getting better at 67% in range, but they're still too high. I want less than, 2% very high. So we really want to get that under control. But these are the things that an educator, an endocrinologist, a primary doctor can look at and go, okay, I know where I need to help you. And then there's other graphs where they can show exactly the time of the day where it's the hardest. We're going to zero in there. And it's usually lunch or dinner. So the accuracy, they have this MARD goal, which is like a percentage to determine accuracy. The lower the number, the better. I've really only seen any of the sensors at an 8 to a 9% accuracy. So the lower, the better. So it's pretty accurate at 8.2%. You can calibrate this, which increases the accuracy, which I love about the Dexcom. You don't have that on the other ones. We're going to wear it on the upper arm. It's 10 days, so you do need 3 sensors a month. And if you're paying for cash, that could be expensive. There are some coupons available. And so here's just a lovely graph on that. A lot of these sensors are knocked off when you take off your shirt and it's on your arm, or you're doing that when you're getting out of the shower, with the towel drying off. You could knock off that sensor, but save it. Don't throw it away. Call Dexcom. There's 800 numbers on the box, and you can look it up. And they will send you a new sensor. I mean, I have done this many, many times for patients, and they don't even ask questions. They're like, do you have the sensor? Great. We're going to send you new ones. You're going to send the old one back in the package, and we'll credit you for that. Really, really great for our type 1 patients who are requiring insulin for life. Insulin, even the best type 1 diabetes patients can still have a low blood sugar or a high blood sugar. And you will get a beep, an alert, an alarm, and a buzz, and a vibration when your blood sugars are dropping. And that can be life-saving for many of my type 1 patients. And my type 2 patients requiring insulin for the same reason. So this is a great sensor because it beeps, it alerts, it alarms, it gives you all the data that you need to control the blood sugar. So for my patients needing any type of medication that lowers blood sugar, it's fantastic for that. But if you don't require insulin, you can still use this, but you're going to get the alerts and the alarms and the beeps that may not be needed for you. For my Medicaid and Medicare patients, if you are requiring insulin, Dexcom is covered. It will be covered if you're requiring insulin. That was new. That happened in this past year. You do need a prescription. You have to get this through your pharmacy or through a diabetes supplier. And sometimes the diabetes supplier, they will call and get the prescription from the doctor for you. They want your business so much, they will make it seamless. So there are many providers out there. Medicare, if you look on the Medicare website, they will have providers that they like to use for their patients. Dexcom.com start if you want a benefit check or find coupon information. Very, very easy to find this information online. It's really a well done website, all the way around well done. Now, Stelo is made by Dexcom, but it doesn't have any whistles and bells on it. No alerts, no alarms, no really fancy reports. So these are for people like me who are in prediabetes, out of prediabetes, to learn how are their blood sugars, what someone who's not needing diabetes medication at this time can learn about their blood sugars to prevent needing that diabetes medication or prevent going into type 2 diabetes. You can absolutely do that by knowing a lot more about how are your blood sugars. So there's no beeps. It's not going to alarm you if you have a low blood sugar. So if you're needing insulin, it's not recommended that you use this. You're going to buy this directly from the website. No prescription needed. That's a benefit. You go right on the website, get it delivered to your house in 2 to 3 days. But the insurance doesn't cover this. You do have to use cash to pay for this. So we're going to Bring this up a little bit. It's just talking about. So it's again, just like the Dexcom, pretty much the same applicator, very easy. You do have a pairing code. It walks you, you have to have the app, and the app does work with Android or Apple, but it walks you right through it. You download the app, and it's so easy to use. It says start the sensor. You're going to get a pairing code. On the sensor, on the applicator, there is a code that you're going to need to put into the app. Very, very easy, very simple. Even if you're not IT, you know, great, you can still use the sensor in this app. It's very, very easy. They've made it easy, but you always have to clean the skin. No oil, no dirt, no soap. You have to use your own alcohol. They used to have them in the package, but they don't anymore. You just unscrew it. The cannula is right in there. You make sure that clear section is pushed in, push the button, just like the Dexcom, and there you go. I usually don't take it off right away. I kind of wiggle it off so I don't interrupt any of the adhesive. But just like the Dexcom, because it's made by Dexcom, you're going to roll your finger around the adhesive and hold that in there for about 10 seconds. And then you're going to put on the outer packaging, outer adhesive, just like we saw before. And it will prompt you to start your sensor. Lovely reports. Now this toggle line here, you can go back and forth to see over 24 hours what was your blood sugar at a certain time, but it's not going to give you all the fancy reports. It will tell you a spike alert and say, oh, you've had a few spikes this week. You know, some blood sugars that have gone over 180. So that's something to look at, maybe as a goal to reduce those spike alerts. The accuracy is very good, but no alarms. And I would wear it on the upper arm. The benefit is it's only 2 sensors a month, and the Dexcom is 3 sensors a month. This will last the whole 15 days. I've worn it about 3 times now, and it's lasted the entire 15 days. It's for anybody with pre-diabetes, gestational diabetes, type 2 diabetes that do not require insulin. Type 1 always require insulin, so this is not for somebody who's type 1. There is no insurance coverage. You will buy this out of your pocket. It's $99 for 2 sensors a month. I think that's pretty easy. You're going to go right to Stelo.com to buy this sensor. Very, very easy. The other more popular sensors is called the Freestyle Libre 3. It's now called the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus. It's the smallest sensor. It's the size of a penny. Very, very tiny. Again, one application. It's also the one that has whistles and bells. Sometimes insurances prefer this one. Sometimes the insurance prefers the Dexcom, but it will alert you if your blood sugar is rising, if your blood sugar is falling. I love the reports on this app. There's only one app you have to download. It's called Libre Link. You don't need any other app, just one app. And so that would be I guess the big difference from Dexcom is just one app that you need. And it's just like, you know, the other videos. It's one applicator. You just unscrew it. That's it. The yellow cap has to be pressed all the way in. So you have to almost put pressure at that insertion site and then press the button. This button is not as loud as the Dexcom button, but you press that yellow in. The yellow does not go in your skin. And then once you do that, press the button and it inserts it instantly. It's very small. They don't come in different colors. So somebody with a darker color skin, it's going to stick out a little bit. Now you can buy these covers that cover the whole thing that are in different colors. If you want to do that, that's fine. You can get those on Amazon. I love the reports. I think the Freestyle, it's so easy to go in there and look at the reports. I'm fascinated by the reports. And again, time and target range and time of the day when it's higher or lower. You can look at all of that, and your educator will get a lot of information from your reports and be able to say, okay, Diane, it looks like dinner is really the only time when your blood sugars are higher. So let's focus our attention just on dinner. Let's help with the meal planning strategy. Maybe we're going to have you do some chair exercises, you know, before you eat dinner. You know, there's a lot of things that I can just pinpoint when you have this sensor on you. And I can look at the reports with you. So the accuracy is very good, but this does not calibrate. So if you're getting some weird readings, you might have to just surrender that sensor, take it off, and put a new one in. and try to get that to be sent back into the freestyle company so they can give you a new sensor. But sometimes sensor is just not placed right. It's going to give you weird readings. Just forget about it, tear it off, and put a new one on, maybe on the opposite arm, to see if you're going to get some better wear and some better results. Because when you're double checking it with your blood sugar meter, you're going to tell if it's in range or not. Again, the sensor lasts 15 days. Who's it for? Not for type 1 diabetes. No, this one is for type 1 diabetes, yes, because it does alert you. Anybody using insulin or blood sugar lowering medications like glipizide, glimepiride, even GLP-1s can cause lower blood sugar. Medicaid and Medicare will cover it if you're requiring insulin. You need help getting a prescription or cash pay or a copay card. They have copay cards that can lower the cost of this significantly if you don't have health insurance. It's a really, really good one. Now, Lingo is one I have not worn before. This is the one I'm going to order next because somebody like me who doesn't have type 2 diabetes, I'm in and out of pre-diabetes, but I can go on the website and order this directly. And because I like the Freestyle app really, really well, very easy to use, very easy to understand, I think this will be the one that I will use for my own needs. But here's the drawback. You can only use it with Apple devices. That's the difference. Everything else you can use the Android, but with this Lingo, only for Apple, iPad, iPhone, Apple, iPad, or iPhone. And it's about the same price as the Dexcom Stelo. It's $99 a month. And the sensor, they say, is 14 days, not 15 days. I don't know. There's a little bit of differences. And again, it's just like all the others. It's basically the same way that you put it on, just like that. The upper arm is recommended because that's usually more fatty. But if you're a pretty lean person, you might need to find some fattier area around your tummy, maybe the love handle area. And this one, you do have to insert the applicator into another product to get the cannula to be exposed. And you have to almost put your phone near it to scan it to start it. So it's still very, very easy. It's not hard to use at all. And again, the reporting is going to be fantastic. And it's going to give you some areas of the day that your blood sugars might be higher that you can concentrate your attention on. I love the graphs. The graphs are just really neat because you can see sometimes when it's really sharply high and then a sharp decline, it could be either you exercised or you took too much insulin. Or, you took insulin, but you didn't eat enough carbs. There's a lot that we can gather from the reporting on these sensors. But again, very, very accurate. 8.3 versus 8.2. I think that's pretty good, but no alarms. So this is not for somebody who's needing insulin or diabetes lowering medication or blood sugar lowering medication. You would wear it on the upper arm. Pretty much all the same information as the Dexcom Stelo. And the website to look up this information is hellolingo.com. Now, this is the last sensor I'm going to review for you. This is one that would be for somebody with type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes that you're just not consistent using the blood sugar meter. You're not consistent using, the CGMs. You can't rely on yourself to remember to do stuff like that. You have already developed complications, and blood sugar management for you is literally life or death. You have to go through a lot of hoops to get approval for this through insurance. All the other sensors have had to fail. Your doctor has to write you a pre-authorization to use. There's a lot of hoops, but for some people, this may be the way to go. This is inserted. This device is inserted under your skin, and it's placed for a year. You will just have, the doctors will have access to your blood sugars 24/7 because they will sync with this device on your phone app. But you don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but your doctors can help regulate your blood sugars. I have some patients like that. They just don't really care, but they have family members, caregivers are like, can you just help me out here? What do I have to feed my husband or my spouse or my dad? In my case, I would have loved for my dad to have this because he wouldn't use one of those CGMs. He wanted to just prick his finger. I would have loved for this. That way I had instant access 24/7 and he wouldn't have to change it for a year. But again, it's device is inserted under your skin. There are going to be some stitches that have to heal. And then you have this almost magnetic sensor. So sometimes you'll see these commercials that, oh, there's no like needle. They're talking about the Eversense because it goes over wherever that was inserted. But every day you have to use a new adhesive to keep that sensor stuck on. And I can see that thing getting lost time and time again. I'm sure there might be some issues with that. But you would have to remove it to shower, you'd have to remove it to swim, and then you'd have to keep it in a safe place and put it back on. You'd have to have the adhesive with you at all times. But Eversense CGM.com is a great place to start. Again, fantastic recordings that you can share with your family, with your doctors, and again, clinic codes so the doctors have instant access to how are your blood sugars all the time. Eversense isn't as accurate. I was very surprised by that, but it's not as accurate as like a Dexcom, but it's going to give us some good information. It will literally, that black one that sets on your arm, it will vibrate. It will vibrate and wake you up and alert you of a rising blood sugar or a drop in blood sugar. I guess the adhesive, I guess the drawbacks is the adhesive, every day you have to find a new adhesive. It doesn't always work. Some thing falls off. You could be in the mall, it falls off because you're carrying some bags and you never find that again. So I don't know how expensive it is to get one of those other top parts, but it could be expensive. But this is just primarily just for type 1 diabetes. But the savings is really great. It's $400 a year. $400 a year that you're gonna, I guess, the adhesive or replacement is $200 usually at most medical offices to place it, to do the surgery to place it. It's just a day surgery. You don't have to be in the hospital. Right? But it's interesting. Not many people want to put something under their arm, but for those who really need it, who are just really non-compliant, I would say this is a great choice. Now, I want to show you a series of blood sugars and how these devices can really help. What I hear time and time again in the group, and with my dad, and even with my own experience, that your blood sugar could rise. And I see, hear people say, gosh, my blood sugar was really high for 2 or 3 hours. Do something about it. You can do something about it. You have the best medicine that's within you, and that's movement. If you move your body, your muscle cells will open and directly suck in that sugar from your blood. It's like a vacuum from your muscles to the blood sugar. You can remove it. And here is the proof. So a rising blood sugar, no movement. We had rice and beans for dinner, but we sat in a chair. We didn't move things. We had 2 sugar-free popsicles, which were about 6 or 7 grams of carbs, but no moving. How long did it take to rise? Well, it rose very quickly. Within 30 minutes or so, the blood sugars are already past that 180 mark. What can you do about it? The timestamp here is 8:35. It took 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes at 9:02. Now we start to see that spike wanting because we started moving. We got out of our chair. We walked around the house. We might have vacuumed. We could have gone outside and played with the dogs, or we did some high marching and high knees in the house, just marching in place, high knees. We can do that sitting in a chair, raising your arms. I don't know that you can do this for 30 minutes, but you have to go back and forth between exercise or whatever you can tolerate. In 9:03, so here we go. 9:02, we noticed it was dropping. In the next minute, we can see how far it dropped. Back down to normal. That's a 94 blood sugar. That's beautiful. That's what exercise does. You can get out of a high blood sugar by moving your body. This is usually not mentioned by the doctor. I'm mentioning it to everybody today that you have some movement here. You have the ability to control your blood sugars and get your blood sugars down with movement. And by the way, these are my blood sugars. This is my sensor. The last time I wore the Stella, this is from me. I intentionally have a high carb meal to show how high the blood sugars can rise, but how fast you can get it back into shape. Yes, Irene?
This is what I wanted to point out, that this is not somebody's numbers from the internet. This is your personal experience.
These are my blood sugars. I have many slides that I will show another day. For the graph of everything, and I'll have a handout that has this website on it. It's a great tool. You can go here to Pro ACE CGM toolkit and get the whole comparison of all the different sensors. It's fascinating. But follow me on social media or message me through the 101 for Beginners Facebook group, and I'm happy to help anytime.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you going over all the details. This is important for anyone who is watching. This is obviously on a replay already. Um, I what I do sometimes, I just stop and take a screenshot of the particular graph, particular table that I find useful for myself, so I will not need to rewatch the entire video, but this is something that everyone can start using. And Kim, let's talk a little bit about the why caregivers need to know this. Is there any way they could get the reports from the CGMs? Because, like in my personal situation, my husband was traveling. He was somewhere, and I am at home sitting all worried what is going on with him, why he is not answering the call because there is no uh, cell signal or because he is somewhere in diabetic coma. And we had this situation with him happen. So what how it could be used for people who are helping those who have this diagnosis.
Yes, you can share your data by using those codes that are on the sensor itself. You can share your data. You can share your all your data with not only your doctor, but a family member, especially when I have a lot of college kids who are, type 1 or type 2 needing insulin, and their parents are, so concerned about them going out and partying and not knowing they have a low blood sugar. And so the parents can be alerted if there's a low blood sugar. It's the Dexcom, the Freestyle Libre, or the Eversense. I don't believe the Stella or the Lingo will give you that information. But you can share the main devices with other family members. So lots of people will know what your blood sugars are and call you or wake you up. Hey, you have a low blood sugar. I think you should check your blood sugar. Let's do a treatment. Make sure you don't find out. Yeah. So you can share the data.
That's a great thing to know, because of course I wanted to mention that as anything, to become an effective helper, caregiver, caretaker, it's important to have a communication between two parties. If you are trying to uh, force your help into the person, you most likely will get a resistance, and it will just create the conflict, and which is also rising the blood sugar. So keep this in mind. The high levels of stress contributing to blood sugar levels, sometimes even more than the food that you eat. So don't discharge that point. So very important activities for us as a caregivers is to create the contact, to earn the trust, so that person who you're trying to help will trust you with that data. They don't need you nagging them. Did you check your blood sugar? Did you eat the proper, did you have a dinner? Did you take your medication? Did you get a shot if it is insulin? They don't need that. They don't need to hear that all the time. But it's turns into this if you didn't have this conversation, because when you are a team, you will be discussing the issues, you will be maybe consulting. Look, I did you may find this happen. I tried that and it didn't work. What did you learn? What did you hear about this? And that's you as a research source may come up with some important information. So communication and trust issue is extremely important. Even if you have this access on your phone, if they don't trust you, it will not be a good connection, good information for you. It will worry you. You will be all concerned and worried, and you will work yourself up, but it will not help the loved one to get better in their health.
Yeah, you have to be really careful of being critical and catch them doing something right. Like, oh wow, look at this time of the day because you had more protein for breakfast. You had a little bit less carbs at breakfast than you normally do. You stopped drinking juice. And now you see how your blood sugars are so great. Great job. Yeah, we're gonna work on, lunch and dinner, but hey, breakfast, amazing. So catch them always doing something right. As a caregiver, you don't want to create that line where they don't trust you anymore. They're not going to tell you anything. So you have to keep that communication open, like Maria said.
Exactly. So Kim, you said you have a list of websites where people could go and get information. Can you
Yeah.
give it to me so I will put it in the description of this episode so anyone could go in the description and click on it and get to those places?
Yes, I'll even show you the one that I really, really liked that had all the information on it. Um, Let me just copy this and I will go here to show you really quick what it looks like. Because that's a really, really good. Right here, real quick. Hold on, I'll share my screen in just a moment. Okay. It's by the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology. And it's called the CGM device
You
comparison.
know that you are not sharing the screen.
Yeah, I am now. Hold on. I just gotta find it. It's called the CGM device comparison. Now it has a lot of information, maybe more than what you want, but it also has the links that you could look for information from the certain devices that you like. Here's the Freestyle Libre 2. We wouldn't be doing the Freestyle Libre 2 anymore. We're up to the Freestyle Libre 3. That is the new generation. So you would have to start almost right here.
And same probably about Dexcom. Is G6 still available or they moved completely to G7?
They have the G6 still available. Oh, here's the information. Look at this, guys. It tells you exactly how much vitamin C could interrupt the readings. That's interesting. You see what they did with Freestyle Libre 3. Now it's called the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus. Now I think they've remedied that because now it's over 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day could maybe potentially impact those results.
Even more sensitive than the other one.
The Dexcom G6 is still available. I don't like it because you have two things. You have the inset, and then you have the sensor that has to go on the inset. The Dexcom G7 is just the new generation, and everybody should be getting the Dexcom G7 or the Stella by Dexcom. It's just one applicator, one application, but it's the two apps that you need.
Okay.
The Medtronic Guardian, that is for pump users. Eversense we just talked about. Yeah, so the only one I didn't have on my list was the Medtronic Guardian. But yeah, this is great. This is just by the website, the AACE website. Just look for CGM device comparison. And proaace.com. And then you'll find, you can find the comparison there. I'll get one that's just a little bit easier to read. Just list the highlights.
Well, as I said, we will put the link to that chart in the description, so it will be easy for people to find it. I wanted to mention, and I promise that I will talk about it a little bit. As I said in the very beginning, this is our 10th time that we meet, and during the previous conversations we had discussed actually how the A1C and insulin work, and Kim was talking. Let me share my screen also so you will see what I'm talking about. Where is my screen sharing button? Here. So you see that, right? You see my screen. And make it bigger. So this is the whole presentation here. Here. Um, we spoke about the insulin and insulin resistance. We spoke about A1C and why it's important, why this measurement is important. Kim did a great presentation about the medications that are prescribed to people with diabetes. So, and what to expect, what they work, what complications to be on the lookout. And for us as caregivers, it's very important to know this information sometimes is being explained to the patients during the doctor's visit. Sometimes the pharmacist may explain it, but my personal recommendation, if you as a caregiver is the one who goes to pharmacy to pick up the refill or the first time, never refuse the consult with the pharmacist. They are there to help you to learn more about this medication, to learn about how to use it, where, with food, without food, before, after, water, maybe some whatever other liquid you could use to can you use the lemon water to take it with this medication, or just the pure water, warm, cold, whatever. Talk with pharmacists. They will share with you a lot more than this pamphlet that often comes with the medication. Kim did the presentation on labels when you go shopping, how to read labels and how to make your decisions, what to pay attention to, because there is a lot of numbers and a lot of names, and it gets confusing. So it's very, I think, insightful presentation as well. What nutrition is important for people with diabetes, and in what proportions. Kim mentioned today the plate method. Everybody heard about it. Some people already using it, and some people still don't get the concept of it. So the whole presentation on that part. We spoke about the snacks because we are snacking people doing this all the time, and sometimes we overdo that. So important part is when you do need a snack, to don't hurt yourself. Use it and in a way that it will help your body instead of hurt your body. And of course, we already had a presentation on breakfast, had a presentation on lunch, and we had a presentation on dinner. Not just like how do you prepare your dinner, but when you go out, how do you make your choices with the food items that are on the menu. I wanted to say that all our presentations are on my YouTube channel that is called Smart Move 360, and there are several playlists there. So and so where is do you see the mouse over there or not? Kim, can you see the mouse moving on the screen? No. Okay. It's not the Apple computers. I could move mouse all over the place on my screen, but you don't see it. Anyways, if you look there, there's home, videos, live, playlists. This is where you click and you will find the collections of videos dedicated to specific topics. So we have our podcast, Diabetically Speaking with Smart Move 360, and when you click on this selection of playlist, you could see only the videos that belong to that. There are also the Warriors edition, where people with diabetes being interviewed, and they talk about their diabetic journey, and you could see that. And there is specific playlist that is called Diabetes 101 for Caregivers. These are these presentations that I just mentioned, and the one that we showed today will go there also shortly, as soon as I will be able to process it and upload it. So this is where you all go to make sure that you did not miss anything new. This is my personal, so I cannot show you the way how how you can subscribe. But there is always a button on all the YouTube channels where you can go and click follow button, and that way you will have a direct access on YouTube to this particular video series. And there's always a little bell that you could click on that will give you notification when the new video showed up there. You will get notification on your phone that this channel or this video series that you're following has the new upload there. Go ahead and take a look at it. So hopefully we have more people who are using this resource. Kim is working hard to put those presentations on. It's Saturday. I promise you right now, something else is happening that I need to be at, and I often we have to reschedule our Saturdays to make sure that we are here doing this, fulfilling our promise. And the only reason why we do that, we want you to have this help, and don't swim in the waters of information totally not certain what is the information that you need, that the person you care for is needing. So I would like you to use this resource. And if you know someone who can use it, say you are meeting with your friend, and you know that in their family somebody with diabetes, and your friend is the one who is trying to help, trying to cook in the proper way, trying to shop in the proper way, share with them this information. Help that family also to stay informed and supported. That's something that I wanted to say today.
Great.
So, Kim, anything else you can add to the CGM user? I know one thing. I know one thing that came up just recently at our support group meetings. Apparently, not everybody knows the trick how to remove the residue that you have from adhesive. And I learned it a long time ago, but this is something that apparently is useful for this CGM tapes as well. Baby oil or any kind of oil. I used to use the just the like canola oil. Uh, I have in my bathroom, I have coconut oil that I use for my body. So I use just a little dab of the coconut oil to remove the residue from the tapes that I have to use periodically on my body. So just something, I'm not sure about the lotions, but those oils, they remove this residue very well. And if you use the coconut oil, you also moisturize your body. So this is something, a little trick that I think people may find useful.
Yeah, most oils will work. I even remember if you want to get labels off of like food products, they want you to use peanut butter because it sticks and it helps to destroy that adhesive. But I don't know that you want to slather your arm with peanut butter. Coconut oil sounds good to me.
Yeah, baby oil, it's, it's already in a convenient container. It's easy to manage the amounts of it, and you don't need much at all, just a drop. And you rub it over it, and this residue just rolls into the little balls that you shake off, and that's it.
Diane, are you convinced now to use a CGM? Oops, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Diane, you're muted, yeah.
Okay, I will check into it. I'll make an appointment with my doctor. And the only thing is that I've had two shoulder replacements, and I just was thinking using the alcohol rub, if I could do it, and I guess I can.
Yeah,
Put it
it'll be very easy. You can also just lift up your arm like this. Are you able to get to part of your arm?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how you would insert it here. Your doctor can probably do the first one for you. So that would be, because this is more of the fattier part.
Okay.
You just
Now, does it?
You want to make sure it's not to the part where it's rubbing on your side.
Okay. Now, you said that the arm that I have it in, I do not lay on that arm when I go to sleep. So if I have it here, would it matter what arm that I have it on?
As long as you're not putting pressure on it. If you're putting pressure on it, it could give you some alerts that are not correct.
Okay.
And I've seen if you are not using insulin, you can actually turn off this alarm for the night. It's for those who are using insulin, this is important.
No, I don't have insulin. I'm on metformin. Was it 500 milligrams? I do
Yes.
that twice a day.
So you are good, and you can just turn it off for the night. So you unlikely you will go into dangerous zone without insulin.
Okay.
You would have to do that through the app, and so somebody might need to help you.
Well,
Yeah, my daughter.
Well, support group meeting is for that, because we have people who are using CGMs. We have Kim with us very often, and she is available to help you with those technical questions as well. So,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely, yes. I wanted also to bring up this issue, and Kim, what would be your take on this? I hear a lot of times people are saying that they don't want to know all the time what their blood sugar is. It makes them very nervous, and it raises the stress level, and that's why they don't do it. What do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, and I agree. I think for some people it's too much information, and I understand that. And as long as they're getting their A1C checked every 3 months, or they're checking at least their fasting and their 2 hour after the largest meal, they're probably going to be just fine, just to give the doctor some data.
Okay.
But a lot of people are that way, and that's okay. This just isn't for you.
I personally, I don't know. I think what I would do one, and like one for 2 weeks, and check just to learn about this, how it goes, how your body works, and then stay with this information, and maybe check 3 months later or a month later, another 2 weeks, and see what progress you made. Did your efforts actually show already?
That's
So
a good suggestion. Just use it once and not have to continue it, but it can give you really great information while you are using it. You can focus and target on those areas that you notice in higher blood sugars, or maybe add more exercise, because you notice exercise really did lower the blood sugars pretty nicely, to avoid medications, even to lose a little bit of weight by doing more exercise. So I think that's a great suggestion. Maybe use it 2 weeks every other month.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I've heard some people do, and I agree that this is one of the ways to do. And for caregivers, please keep that in mind, that we are only there to help, and we are there to help in the way that help is asked for. We cannot force help on those people. So we can recommend, we can suggest, we can remind, but we cannot force, and we shouldn't. It creates the tension, it creates the problem, and and losing the contact. I know that this is very painful when you are trying to help, when you are with all your heart and passion is there, and the person is not opening up to you. It's painful. So to ease it for everyone, try to tame your own anxiety, because it causes anxiety not only for the person with diagnosis, but the person who is the family member who support people. So a little bit more time to get adjusted to the diagnosis, to get adjusted to new life reality will be helpful for everybody.
Great.
So, well, this is my little thoughts that I had when I was thinking about this session. I realized that we focus on the topic, and the information is important, but support for caregivers also is important. And I wanted to just emphasize one more time that caregivers need to take care of themselves as well. And it's exhausting. It can be exhausting. It can be very difficult and really draining if you don't take care of yourself. And we need to find a way to go and get some rest, go and get some stress levels under control, make sure that we're staying hydrated, make sure that we get enough nutrients, because while we're taking care of ourselves or of other people, you can reach the burnout point, and that is a very dangerous point. The one that if you, especially if you're a spiritual person, you will not forget and forgive yourself ever, and this is hard to live with. So take care of yourself, and it will help you to be a better caregiver for your loved one.
Wise
Thank
words.
you,
I
Irina.
experienced that personally. What was that, Diane?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Irina. Really appreciate the information.
You're welcome,
Thank
dear.
you. Thank you. Well, with that, I think we will finish today. We will be looking for the comments, and please don't hesitate to comment, question, and we will do our best to come back to you with the answer, recommendation, suggestion, support. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kim.
Thank you, Irina.
All right, everybody, have a great next month. See you next month.